Places. The last call prior to the performance starting. Loop enters the house. Stardust has a fever. They empathize.
Loop.
You make an
Oh,
incomprehensible noise, slowly blinking yourself awake. You yawn, stretching your arms above your head. You don't know how long you were asleep. It's dark out now.
Loop.
She calls again, sounding anxious.
Are you here?
You let out a soft sigh, leaning over the edge of your branch with a plastered on smile.
look up, dear housemaiden.
You call down to her, and she jumps a little. She does then, and almost immediately sees you. Of course she does. You blinding glow, it'd be hard to miss you.
Oh,
She gives you a smile, which you weren't really expecting.
hello.
She pauses, brow furrowing.
Were you sleeping?
Not much else to do out here, housemaiden.
You drawl.
Oh, sorry to wake you.
She's ridiculous.
Could you, come down, maybe?
I suppose.
You say with a dramatic sigh. You climb down fairly quickly, landing in front of her.
So, do you need me for something?
Actually, Siffrin woke up a little bit ago. Siffrin woke up a little bit ago.
She tells you, and you feel yourself sparking. She stares at you with big eyes, and you grimace a little. Calm down, you're freaking her out.
Are they okay?
You ask, leaning forward a little. You stop when you realize you're doing it. She gives you a very thoughtful look.
They're fine.
She reassures you, smiling gently.
Sick, but we expected that.
You relax, exhaling deeply.
But, they were asking for you, so.
Ah, so you sent your least threatening member.
You tease.
Lest you scare me off like a frightened animal.
No.
She denies immediately. Then she frowns, looking away.
Maybe a bit. I mean, Madame Odile can be very intense, and Isabeau is tall, and you're not.
Oh, thanks. You snort.
I'm not scared of your fighter. He's an overgrown puppy.
You pause, then tap your chin.
Then again, I did hurt his precious Sif, so perhaps I should be a little cautious.
Oh, ow, you really didn't like saying that, actually? The familiar nickname tastes like ash in your mouth. You must make a face about it because the housemaid starts looking concerned.
Um, I don't think he's mad at you.
She says reassuringly.
I mean, we're all still kind of confused, but Siffrin really doesn't want us to hold this against you, so.
So they'll look the other way for him. Yes, yes. You appreciate the attempt, even though that's not really what you were upset about. It's the thought that counts and all,
Well, let's get moving then.
you say, not wanting to think about this anymore, gesturing for her to lead the way. She nods once, taking the front, and you follow along behind her. Thankfully, most of Dormont's population are in their houses now, meaning you can walk through town without getting gawked at. The journey back goes by far too quickly, and then you're staring up at the house again. You stop at the gate against your will, just looking. You rub your arms.
You were stuck here too, right?
The housemaid asks quietly.
E- Even longer than Siffrin? That's what you told Bonnie.
You give her a mildly suspicious squint, then look away, nodding once.
I'm sorry.
She says, and you blink.
This this must be really hard for you then. Um,
She hesitates.
do you want to hold my hand?
You turn to her incredulously.
What?
Um, just it might help to have something to hold on to, and and that way I can lead you to him without you having to think about it. You could close your eyes, maybe?
You can't help but laugh, just a little. You stop when you see how crestfallen she looks.
I'm sorry, it's not. I'm just not sure the stairs would go very well if you walked me through the house blind. But I suppose it couldn't hurt.
You say reluctantly. It could hurt, actually. It could hurt a lot, but you do need to get to Stardust. She smiles kindly, holding out a hand, and you slowly, carefully take it. Her hands are calloused. It's very familiar in a way that makes you a little ill,
We'll be there in no time.
she promises. You appreciate it, but you'll still be in the house. She gently pulls you along, and you trail behind her, trying not to think about anything. You do that a little too well. One minute you're at the front gates, and the next hmm. You're not sure, actually. The king's curse truly did warp the house to peculiar shapes, and so neither of the layouts you're used to fit anymore. It's bizarre to not know exactly where you are in here at any given time,
Loop,
the housemaiden asks, giving your hand a little squeeze to pull you back, and you jump.
Sorry, what?
You ask, blinking a few times. You feel strange here, out of place, disconnected. You try to ignore it,
we're here.
she says, concerned.
Are you sure you'll be okay in here?
You give her your best smile.
I'll be alright, housemaiden, thank you. Besides, we're already here. Turning back now would be silly.
She doesn't seem very convinced, humming uncertainly.
If you say so.
She mumbles.
They're in here.
She gestures towards the door. You let go of her hand, raising a hand halfway to the doorknob before pausing. Are you really ready to see them all again? The housemaiden was even kind enough to give you an out. You see her thinking, probably trying to figure out something to say to comfort you. You don't really want to hear it, so you steel yourself and open the door instead. Off to one side is the researcher, reading a book. Oh, it's that family tale Stardust got for her, you think. She gives you an appraising look as you enter, then she nods once and goes back to reading. In one of the beds sits the kid, talking animatedly, grinning. They turn to you as the door opens, and they pause before giving you a smile. Sitting in a chair beside the other bed is the fighter, nodding along to whatever the kid was going on about. When he sees you, there's a flicker of a sad expression that you can't parse before he covers it up with a smile. And then, sitting in that second bed, propped up against a small pile of pillows, eating some kind of pastry, is Stardust. They had apparently been listening to the kid with rapt attention, but as soon as the door opens, they perk up and turn to you. Their face lights up so bright you wonder if they're the star here.
Loop!
He greets, beaming. Their face looks a little dark.
Stardust.
You greet back, a little stunned by the sheer magnitude of their reaction. You'd have been less blindsided if they'd flashbanged you. He shifts, and the fighter gently grabs his hand. The simple gesture splinters violently through you.
Oi, no getting up, Sif. Bad.
He scolds lightly.
You're so bad at resting!
The kid complains.
How can you be bad at resting? You sleep all the time!
You sympathy grimace. You're sure they slept all the time before, but things are likely a little different now. Stardust grins sheepishly and mumbles an apology, then he turns back to you and reaches out, making grabby hands in your direction. You give them your most incredulous stare, unmoved.
Loop!
They whine at you.
Come here or I'm gonna come over there.
No, you are not, Siffrin.
The researcher says, looking up from her book for a moment to give him a stern glare. They wince.
Are they on pain meds?
You ask, staring her way, and the researcher barks out a laugh.
Ha! No, I believe it's just the fever.
Ah, that makes sense.
You reply with a nod.
Frying what little brain he has. Poor soul.
The kid snickers, and you count it as a success.
Yeah, they've been like this. I'm glad you're here. He was really sad when we told him you left, like a lost puppy.
Oh, that's fascinating.
You say with a wide grin.
Missed me much, Stardust?
Their face is already a bit dark from fever, but it manages to darken a few more shades. They let out another whiny noise, face scrunching up.
Wasn't upset. I was just worried.
He doesn't look at you.
Oh, sure. So you didn't miss me at all, hmm? So you don't want me to come over there then?
Stardust frowns intensely at you, looking like a wet cat out in the rain, and you sigh.
Fine. Needy.
You half expect someone to stop you from getting close, all things considered. They must all be as naive as Stardust, though, because none of them do. The fighter looks a little wary, which hurts, and the researcher eyes you, but you think that's more just because you interest her. Like a bug under a microscope. You awkwardly linger by the bed, unsure of what to do now that you're here. You kind of didn't think you'd make it this far. Before you decide on anything, Stardust grins, grabs your wrist, and tugs. Oh, you're going to blinding murder them. This is the last straw. You're killing them. Right here, right now. Consequences be damned. You weren't expecting it, and so he pulled you with enough force to topple you over, which means you land practically on top of him. The sudden movement upsets the whole balance of the room. You nearly kick the kid flailing on the way down, which makes them almost fall off the bed when they scoot out of your range. The housemaiden catches them so they don't end up cracking their skull open. You also come dangerously close to headbutting the fighter, which makes him yelp and jump back. Perhaps worst of all, Stardust is cackling, still holding you by the wrist, now with their other arm around your back. The kid is too, actually, the little traitor.
I'm going to murder you.
You tell them through gritted teeth.
I swear to the universe I'm going to kill you, you stupid blinding rat.
Your threats do not have the intended effect, only making them laugh harder. They cut off with a little wheeze. You want to strangle him again, wrap your hands around his throat and squeeze. That was a lot. Anyway.
Ow, 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 ow.
Stardust whines, so you try to get off of them, alarmed. They pull you back.
No, it's not you. It's the laughing hurts.
Good.
You snap.
Let go.
No.
Stardust replies simply, looking like the cat who caught the canary. Your homicidal urges rise.
I'm glad you're here. I thought you were gonna be gone.
He says.
Like, next town over or something by now, probably.
You frown.
You and me both.
You mutter. Your back is starting to ache from the awful position they've locked you into.
Okay, off. This hurts.
You say, and that at least gets them to immediately let you go. You straighten and stretch with a pop, and you hear the housemaid make a sympathetic noise.
Ow.
She says, grimacing.
Ow.
You agree cheerfully.
Stardust, if you ever do that again, I'm taking us both out.
He doesn't laugh. You can tell he really, really wants to.
That certainly was something.
The researcher comments. You very much do not like the smug look on her face.
You did almost smash our heads together, so maybe don't do that again.
The fighter cautions, though he's grinning. Ugh, of course they all think it was funny. If it was anyone else, you'd probably think so too. Stars.
Sorry.
Stardust says, not actually sounding very sorry.
Loop, your face!
The kid laughs, and you sigh heavily.
Yes, it was all very funny. Anyways, you probably shouldn't be so eager to have me close like that. I did almost kill you recently, you know.
It's easy to fall back into that saccharine sing-song for you. Easier than being real, certainly.
You won't do anything to me.
Stardust replies, and you stare at them, completely at a loss. You have no idea why he's so confident that you won't, because you will. Even now, you're so angry and jealous that you could burst with it. They have everything that you want, after all.
You're all bark.
What? Excuse me?
You ask, voice pitching up incredulously.
You...
Children,
The researcher interrupts.
no fighting.
You glare at her, and she squints back. Reluctantly, you back down, huffing. That all done, you decide to sit in the other free chair by Stardust's bed, leaning your head against the wall behind you. The housemaiden chooses to settle next to the kid, who has moved back to their original spot, legs hanging over the side of the infirmary's second bed. This is probably the safest place for you to be, if only because it places you a bit of a distance away from the fighter or the researcher. Surrounded by all of them, you can't shake the feeling that you're trying to replace your friends like goldfish. If they look the same and you call them the same names, then you can pretend you never lost them to begin with, right? Stars. You tuck all of that into the back of your mind where you don't have to look at it anymore. Stardust is looking sleepy, which is for the best, because then they can't do anything horrifically embarrassing to you. He suddenly blinks awake, though, shifting to poke you in the side. You look at them.
It's probably too soon for murder jokes.
He says.
Who said I was joking, Stardust?
You lilt, grinning. They snort, decidedly unimpressed.
It may be a little too soon for murder jokes.
The housemaiden agrees nervously. You blink at her, then look away.
Noted.
You reply simply, subdued. You choose to just zone out now, letting time pass by around you until everyone else decides to sleep. The researcher chooses to leave, saying something about finding a bed to sleep in, since the two here are occupied. There's a small argument over who gets a second bed, one that the housemaid and the kid win, because apparently the fighter had been spending way too much time in here anyway. The housemaid kindly offered to find you somewhere to sleep, but you declined, assuring her that you'd be fine. You don't think she fully believes that it's alright for you to not sleep, but she also apparently doesn't want to call you on it, and Stardust isn't nearly awake enough to. You sit there in the dark, just thinking for a while. You don't know what time it is when Stardust awakes with a start, immediately catching your attention. He whines and you frown, reaching out to put a hand on his forehead. Still feels warm, you think, but you haven't exactly had to check anyone's temperature in this form, so you have no real idea if they're still feverish or not. Useless. He reaches up to lightly grip your wrist, keeping you there.
Dream?
You ask very quietly so as not to wake the other two.
Dunno.
They release you and you pull your hand back.
Don't remember.
You think they might sound a little more lucid, which is good. He looks at you, brows furrowed.
Are you okay?
Stars, there must be something wrong in that little head of theirs.
I'm not the one laid up in the infirmary, Stardust.
You reply, head tilted. They frown.
No, I know, just you don't have to be here if you don't want to.
There must be some kind of look on your face because he backpedals rapidly.
Not what I meant. I still want you with me. I just know being in the house is it's making you miserable, isn't it? You could wait outside somewhere.
Ah, it's miserable, sure, but
Nope, I'm staying here.
you reply.
I practically put you here and you hate it here too. It's only fair that we're both miserable.
Thankfully, Stardust accepts this as the peace offering it is and doesn't argue.
Could you come here?
He asks quietly. You hum, then move your chair to be closer to Stardust's bed, facing them. He hesitates, then offers you a hand.
Oh, are you shy now? You were so bold earlier.
They flush and grimace.
Sorry, I was kind of loopy.
You snort, shaking your head, and they look distinctly pleased about it. You decide to indulge them and take their offered hand. He smiles at you warmly.
Thanks, Loop.
Of course.
You say.
Now go to sleep. You need your rest so we can get out of here.
They smile and nod, getting comfortable. He doesn't let go of your hand, and you choose not to pull away. Just so they'll sleep better is all. You sit there until their breathing evens out. You blink drowsily. Maybe not sleeping was a bad idea, actually. It's so horribly boring to be awake in a room full of sleeping people. Well, nothing for it, you suppose. You get as comfortable as you can in your chair and shut your eyes. Drifting off for a little while couldn't hurt. You're dead asleep in minutes.